in this segment, you know, Skip and Shannon, it seemed like every day they have to have the Jordan versus LeBron James comparison. In this segment, they're going to talk about who had the most help between LeBron James and Michael Jordan. I wrote this stuff down because I did a history on that. I wanted to see who had the most help in their career. And LeBron James edged it as far as having younger players in their prime that he was able to cultivate the team. Because remember, when he left Cleveland the first time, he went and joined Dwayne Wade, who already had won a title and was a multiple All-Star. Chris Bosh, who had already led Toronto to a couple playoff appearances. Plus, he was an All-Star, and he was considered one of the top 5 power forwards in the game at the time. And Dwayne Wade was considered probably number 2 to Kobe Bryant in the shooting guard in his position. And both of those guys were young. They were like 27, 26. And when he came back to Cleveland, he came back with Kyrie Irving, who was 23 years old, or 22 years old, one of those. And he traded Wiggins for Kevin Love, and he was able to cultivate that team how he wanted. Jordan never built a team. I know it's different eras, but Jordan was never able to cultivate a team. He had to take the team that Jerry Reinsdorf and them built for him to play with. And yes, he did play with Scottie Pippen. He did play with Dennis Rodman later in his career. He played with Ron Harper. Ron Harper was a monster before he hurt his knee. And he also played with Horace Grant for about 5 or 6 years in his first stint there. Yes, he was able to play with guys like Charles Oakley early in his career, with Orlando Woolrich early in his career. But like I said, not Kobe Bryant, but LeBron James had more help, in my opinion, in the research that I did versus Michael Jordan.
Let's add a new wrinkle to the LeBron-Jordan debate. Last night, the Cavs beat the Raptors, and LeBron is now headed to his 8th straight Eastern Conference Finals. LeBron got plenty of help from his teammates, including 23 points from fellow All-Star Kevin Love. So, Shannon, who had more help during their career, LeBron or Jordan?
Interesting question, Joy.
Look at Shannon Sharp, boy. He looking, boy. And Skip knows that Shannon Sharp sees LeBron James as being the GOAT now. He said the other day that LeBron James is the GOAT now since he hit them 2 game-winning shots in this year's playoffs. I don't know how that puts you in the GOAT. But Skip knows that Shannon Sharp is going to have come up with this crazy angle and try to figure out how LeBron James had less help than Michael Jordan.
No, we already know the answer.
Oh,
Michael Jordan, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Michael Jordan had the better players. And what goes into this, Skip, is that anytime...
You see how Shannon did that. We're talking about who had the most help. He's saying he's trying to change it into who had the better players. Because people out there are going to say, well, Scottie Pippen was better than Dwayne Wade, and he was better than Chris Bosh, and he was better than Kevin Love. He was better than Kyrie because he's a 50th greatest player. And so was Dennis Rodman. No, it's not about who had the better players, who had the most help. And LeBron James played with multiple All-Stars in both of his stints. In Miami, he played with multiple All-Stars with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Every year that he was there, they went to the All-Star game together. And he went to the All-Star game with multiple players when he came back to Cleveland. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. He had a lot of help.
LeBron has had really great teammates, players. He's on there for a short period of time. So he played with D. Wade, but he only played 4 years. He played 3 years. 4 years.
Okay, but see, Shannon, that's his problem. Because he left D. Wade and Chris Bosh after 4 years. That was his decision to do that. So for you to say he only played there 4 years, yes, that was his decision. He could have played there longer if he wanted to, but he didn't. He went back to Cleveland. And guess what? When he went back there, Kyrie was waiting, and he made sure Kevin Love came in before he even stepped in Cleveland. The Kevin Love trade was in the works for Wiggins.
This is a long time, but go ahead. Is it longer than the 10 years that Scottie Pippen played with Michael Jordan? Oh, okay. Just checking, Jordan. I'm just checking. Because Jordan, remember I told you yesterday, ain't good with numbers. What about the 6 years he played with Horace Grant? Played 6 years. So LeBron James has never had a...
He played 6 years with Horace Grant. Horace Grant was a pretty good defender. Horace Grant was a solid player, but Horace Grant was not an all-star type player. He was not a perennial all-star player. I believe Horace Grant did make the make a All-Star team after Jordan retired the first time. I think it was him, Scottie Pippen, and B.J. Armstrong that made the All-Star team. But that's when Jordan left, and he had a bigger role. But yeah, Horace Grant was a good player, but he was no, you know what I'm saying, no great player. He was a good player.
Had an all-star teammate that he played with longer than 4 years. Michael Jordan had 10 years with Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen's in the Hall of Fame, top 50 player. 7-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, 10-time defensive. Skip, did you know that Scottie Pippen was an 8-time first-team All-Defensive player? Horace Grant, All-Defensive. Dennis Rodman, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, All-Star. Tony Kukoc won 6th Man of the Year. Charles Oakley was a 2-time All-Defensive NBA player, All-Star. Skip, we can go on and on. And the thing is simple. And these guys had a specific job. But here's a very interesting stat, George. I don't know if you know this, George, because this was, you ain't running around there getting on Jason nerves, I'm sure of that. All those 6 championship seasons, guess who led them in assists? One, Scottie Pippen. LeBron James has yet to play on a team in which he has not led the team in scoring and assists. That's
You know why, Shannon? He's not been on a team where guys can lead in scoring and assists, because they run a LeBron James system where he has the ball all the time. See, Scottie Pippen, that's why I say Scottie Pippen is close to LeBron James. The only thing that's different is LeBron James averaged more points because Scottie Pippen played alongside Michael Jordan. If Scottie Pippen was to have his own team playing the way he played and the way that he plays and the versatile style that he plays in, he would have been LeBron James. And in this era, Scottie Pippen would have averaged just as many points as LeBron James. He would at least average like 25 points. He would have been getting the same numbers that LeBron James is getting, playing in this current day of age where all the offensive numbers are inflated. Across the board, all the offensive numbers are inflated. A lot of these guys now, if they played back in the day when it was a little bit more physical, and you can have more physical contact on the player, those scoring averages will be down at least 5 or 6 points for a lot of players. So, like I said, yes, he played with Scottie Pippen for 10 years, but I'm going to say this. Him and Scottie Pippen was the only ones going to the All-Star game within those 10 years. I think Dennis Rodman didn't go with them, not one time. No, Tony Kukoc didn't go with them. Ron Harper didn't go with them. Guess who went with LeBron James? Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. When he went back to Cleveland, guess who went to the All-Star game with him? Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving. I say that's a lot of help.
15 up, 15 down. So the numbers are going to look a little skewed because now it's an offensive game now and guys have gaudy stats. But there's no question in my mind that Michael Jordan had a better supporting cast than what LeBron James has.
Interesting. So, Joy, I happen to start looking at all-star teams and through the years, and I start adding up the numbers, MJ versus LeBron, and the first thing I find is that in 9 out of Michael Jordan's 15 NBA seasons, he was the solo all-star on his team. Only 5 times in LeBron's 15 seasons was he the solo all-star on his team. So it's 9 solos for Michael, only 5 for LeBron. Now that also includes one of the 9 solos was 1998. That was Michael's last championship run in Chicago. Nobody else on that team made the All-Star team. Can you believe that? Scottie Pippen, that guy you were raving about, he didn't even...
If I'm not mistaken, that was the year Scottie Pippen missed a lot of games. I'm trying to figure out, was that the year Scottie Pippen missed a lot of games? I believe Scottie Pippen was hurt, or maybe that was the year before. But I don't know why Scottie Pippen didn't make the All-Star team that year. But Scottie Pippen was still really good. I know what Skip is saying, but Scottie Pippen was still really good. He was still a really, really good player back, even though he didn't make the All-Star team. I know Skip is, for his debate, and it's true that he didn't make the All-Star team that year. But Scottie Pippen was still very good. LeBron James, I know Shannon trying to say Jordan for 10 of his seasons, he had Scottie. But yes, once you start adding up LeBron James, 2 stints and going from season to season, his stuff is about to start adding up. And like I said, he had multiple All-Stars in multiple years.
make the All-Star team as Michael's teammate that year, 1998, in which they went all the way to Utah Game 6, and you know what happened? Michael stole the ball from Karl Malone, dribbled up the court. He didn't try some funky, crazy horse shot off 1 foot falling out of bounds. He just went straight up on Byron Russell right there at the free throw line, held the post, just held.
What was the last 2-minute report? What was the last 2-minute report?
So back to this. That's kind of hard for you to argue. 9 solo All-Star years to 5 for LeBron.
Okay.
So only 6 times. That's the other 6 years of Michael's career. Did he have 1 All-Star? He just had Scotty for 6 years, made the All-Star team. So that's 6 out of 15, and the others 9. So he never had a multiple All-Star team.
Skip, don't do that.
Skip got you so far, Shannon. Like he said, look, he never had multiple All-Star players on his team when he played.
Don't do that because Michael Jordan got to the league in 1984, so Scottie Pippen wasn't in the league. Michael Jordan also went 2 years to Washington, so don't do.
So that means before Scottie Pippen got there, he didn't play with no All-Stars. So why you saying why didn't he get past the Celtics and why he got swept by the Celtics? He had no other All-Stars on his team. So Skip, you should start using that for your argument when y'all start arguing about why he didn't get past the Celtics, because we all know the Celtics back then had at least 4 or 5 Hall of Famers on their team.
That. So 10 of those years in which he played with Scottie Pippen was a 7-time All-Star. But that's none of my business.
No, but Michael wasn't there. Michael wasn't there. He had the 2 years off. So only 6 times was he able to play with one other All-Star, Scottie Pippen. Had only 1. Wait a second.
No, hold on. No, Skip, for context here now. Michael Jordan got to the league in 84.
Yeah.
Scottie Pippen didn't come into the league until what? 87, 88.
Okay,
so that's what? 3 years.
So
how can Scottie Pippen go to the All-Star game with him if he's not in the
So that boosts Skip argument. He didn't have no All-Star in the 3 years to what you say that he didn't get out the first round. He didn't have no All-Star players on his caliber players on his team, Shannon. So I don't know what you just helping Skip out.
NBA?
Well, I'm just saying this is all he had. So those years he didn't have any All-Stars.
Okay.
Thank you.
You remember big old Orlando Warriors?
Yeah.
Michael Jordan's rookie year, he averaged 23 points a game.
And he didn't go to the All-Star. I'm doing All-Stars. That's all I'm doing.
Okay, well,
and I'm looking at LeBron James, and you realize once in Cleveland.
Orlando Warriors was a really good player though back then. Orlando Warriors had some drug problems, but he was a really good player though.
Cleveland, and 4 times in Miami, he had multiple All-Stars with him because last year in Cleveland, obviously, he had both Kevin Love and Kyrie.
Thank you, Skip. Multiple All-Stars in Miami, in the second stint in Cleveland, multiple All-Stars again. And again, he was able to cultivate the team on how he wanted it. He was able to build that team according to his way of play, period. Phil Jackson brought in the triangle, and Michael played in that system. He was playing the Michael system for the first 3-4 years, but then he was put into the Phil Jackson system and still flourished. Now, unlike LeBron has not been in anybody's system but his system.
And 4 straight years in Miami, he had both Dwayne and Bosh. So that's multiple All-Stars. So if I add up all the All-Star appearances that you've been able to play with, that's 14 for LeBron and only 6 for Michael. Well, that would mean, I think 14 is much more than...
Like I said, LeBron James had more help, and he only came out with 3 titles. And like I said again, he was able to build his team the way he wanted it based on his skill set and the way he wanted to play. And he came out with 3 titles, 5 losses. Jordan came out with 6 for 6 running the triangle offense, an offense that he really didn't want to play. He didn't want to be in that offense. When Phil Jackson first came to the team, and Phil Jackson said, we're going to run a triangle, and Michael Jordan famously said, what, are we going to run an equal opportunity offense? And Phil Jackson said, yes. And Michael Jordan did not like that. But unlike Jordan, LeBron was able to play in the offense that he wanted to play in, where everything is no equal opportunity. Yes, he does pass the ball very well, but he has the ball in his hands most of the time. That's why Kyrie Irving wanted to leave, because Kyrie Irving said he wanted to be a point guard, a true point guard. But that's all I got for this, man. Like I said, LeBron James had more help than Michael Jordan.